Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Triangle Offense. We are almost at the end of the year, and the NBA is in full flow, but the results have not been in full flow. The teams
No.
have been losing left, right, and center. Milwaukee Bucks thrashed the Miami Heat, the NBA finalists, by 47 points
Yeah.
yesterday. I I can't wait to hear an explanation of this. Hey Nishant, what's up
Eh,
with Milwaukee Bucks and what's up with Miami Heat? Because that game was a total blowout. Blowout is kind of an understatement for that. 144 and 97 against Miami Heat, who are probably one of the best defenses in the league,
yeah.
and the NBA finalists. Let's not forget that. What's happening with that?
Yeah. I mean, the Milwaukee put up an all-star game kind of scoreline, and Miami could only respond with like a early 2000s playoff kind of offensive scoreline. Right? It was miserable. Well, let's not read too much into it. Look, I think a bunch of factors are at play here. First of all, those margins of victory, and we've seen a bunch of blowouts already, right? The
Mm-hmm.
Mavs blew out the Clippers by 50, and they were up
Yep.
by 50 at the half, for crying
Yep.
out loud. I think we'll see a lot more of these um, for
Mm-hmm.
multiple factors, right? It's a shortened preseason, no preseason almost, right? They got like 2-3 games under their belt. It's also no fans. A lot of
Yep.
these games, when you're down big, you hit a couple of clutch shots, you make a couple of exciting plays, and then the fans get into it, and then you're getting into it, and before you know it, you're on a 15-2 run, and the deficit's wiped out. And now the other team's getting jittery, especially if you're the away team, you're getting jittery. None of that's going
Mm-hmm.
to happen. So this was a home game for Miami. Can you imagine a Miami
Yep.
crowd letting them live through that misery? Not going to happen. So it's easier to sit back and say, all right, we'll get them in the next one as early as the
Mm-hmm.
second quarter, and say, all right, this is a lost
True.
cause. Let's move on, right? But again, first of all, you can't answer that question by looking at this score line and saying there's such a wide gulf. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the factors of the crowd, the factors of the preseason, and the fact that this wasn't the when we say Miami that were runners up last season, this wasn't that Miami. Jimmy Butler wasn't on the floor. Dragic is on their fringes right now. I would assume they're preserving him for the playoffs, and so they're trying to keep him under 30 minutes. 28 minutes seems to be the magic mark for anyone on minutes restriction, and the only way they can do that without giving him too short a burst is having him
Mm-hmm.
come off the bench in each quarter. So he's not playing regularly. Iguodala's not out there. So is it really the same defense, especially without Butler and Iguodala? So they're not. And also Milwaukee had an all-time great scoring night. That's an NBA record. That's an all-time record for threes. They had
Yep.
I think 12 people hit
20.
threes in that game,
Yep.
which
Yep.
again is a record. Basically everyone except Giannis Antetokounmpo, even the other Antetokounmpo hit a three. Right? That's how crazy
Yep.
that night was. Everyone
Yep.
except Giannis hit a three, at least one. They're not going to do that every night. So
Mm-hmm.
so it's easy to blow this out of proportion, but let's take a step back here. What's interesting to note is, no, this isn't the Bucks from last season. But we knew that already. We knew when they acquired Drew Holiday that this was a big time move. Now, DiVincenzo knocking down shots, all of these things may come, may go. But what won't is they legit have three scoring options now. And Drew
Mm-hmm.
Holiday is not going to shrink in the playoffs. He's going to elevate in the playoffs. We've seen this season after season, including with Anthony Davis in the Pelicans.
Yep.
That's a big difference because Bledsoe offensively chokes in the playoffs, and his
Right.
the ways in which he can do damage on the offense are limited. Bledsoe is a lot more versatile and is a much more elite defender, as good as sorry, Drew Holiday is a lot more versatile and he's a lot more elite as a defender than Bledsoe was.
Mm-hmm.
That's the exciting part. So it's already a new look Bucks team. I'm loving the offense. And I wasn't wrong. We weren't wrong, were we now, when we said Miami have a Giannis stopper formula? They seem to have stopped Giannis pretty fine, but they didn't account for all of the other guys that kind of came out of syllabus. So nights like these aren't going to come by every now and then. But what's exciting for the Bucks is just the sheer depth, the number of people that they were able to bring into the rotation. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
really got overworked on that night. Part of that was because it was a blowout so early, but part of that
True.
was everyone was coming in and knocking down shots. So
Yep.
it's a new look Bucks. It's exciting, but I'll tell you what. A lot of this is we've seen this movie before. The Bucks
Mm-hmm.
are the reigning one seed in the East last season, and they were dominant the
Mm-hmm.
season before that, only to come and
Mm-hmm.
crash and burn in the playoffs. Right, first to the Raptors, then to the Celtics, or Miami. It's one team or the other, but every year somebody new finds a Giannis stopper formula and stop Giannis, stop the Bucks. It's as simple as that. Because Bledsoe's going to choke, Middleton's going to be uh, quite erratic. I wouldn't say he's as limited as
Mhm.
Bledsoe in the playoffs. So Middleton in the regular season is an A plus All Star, an All Star plus. Um, Now in the playoffs, he's erratic. He has great games. He goes missing on games. With Drew Holiday, a lot of that is plugged, and they have now playoff defense. I love this new look Bucks.
Mhm.
Is it going to be enough in the East? Let's see. Let's see where KD's at. The early signs are good, but it's not quite Kevin Durant yet. Kyrie's looked as good as he's ever looked, probably even better than he's ever looked. KD is
Mhm.
not quite there yet, and they got that Dinwiddie blow. So that's
Yeah.
something they'll have to keep an eye on. And the 76ers is another team they'll have to keep an eye on. These are the early signs, right? We Who knows
Right.
what Boston are going to evolve into. But
Right.
I like what I'm seeing from the Bucks. But we've seen a lot of this before. Giannis dominates, Bucks dominate. Middleton's amazing in the regular season, and then they go crash and burn. The only element that has changed in that jigsaw is that now they have Drew Holiday, and we know he's going to show up. But the
Yep.
Bucks are
Yep.
going nowhere if Giannis doesn't figure out a way to either overcome his shooting inability, improve his free throws, or become an elite playmaker where he's drawing those double teams. So can he bring others into the play? Can shooters knock down shots? Can all of these variables uh, be executed to perfection? And so a lot of the same questions remain. The only real improvement is Bledsoe has now suddenly become Drew Holiday, and that's great. But they're still going to need
That's great.
Middleton to
Yeah.
play in the playoffs. As
True.
good as Drew is, Drew and Anthony Davis ultimately couldn't get it done. Yes, that was in the West. Yes, that was against a much stronger team than these guys are likely to face. But they're going nowhere if Giannis and Middleton don't show up in the postseason. So whatever they do in the regular season doesn't matter. We've seen this already. Can we get to the postseason before it's the same parameter that's applied to Paul George also. Like he could win the MVP in
Mhm.
the regular season. Nobody's gonna care. We want to see
Mhm.
playoff P become playoff P and not just call himself playoff P.